Yeah, this is quite a story, and this is a weird story because MLB is not talking about what they uncovered. His name is Pat Hoberg. He's one of the highest rated young umpires in Major League Baseball. He did a World Series game a year ago. He got a perfect score on balls and strikes.
Wow.
That's pretty
That's
impressive.
rare.
Evidently, it has been discovered that either at the end of last season or during spring training, he was betting on sporting events,
Mhm.
not baseball,
Mhm.
sporting events. Oh, there's a gray area. Are you allowed to go to casinos? You are allowed to bet on other sporting events, but you can't bet on sporting events. How should I say this? You can't bet on sporting events from a stadium.
Well,
If you're
yeah.
sitting in the umpire's room killing time during a rain delay, you can't be doing this.
Exactly.
And that's an issue. He did not bet on baseball. No games were influenced, but I think he's been disciplined. Anyhow, he's now filed to go to arbitration because he said this discipline was unfair to take me out of the game at this point in time. What was the word that I used about 2 weeks ago in the aftermath of the Marcano lifetime suspension from the Padres and what happened with Jay Groom and Mike Kelly? What was the
Tip
word?
of the iceberg.
You got it, brother. If it's players, there's probably a lot more out there doing this. And now there's umpires that were doing this, not necessarily betting on baseball. So Pat Hoberg arbitration case is coming up. It's not good, but you can't place bets from the stadium on other sporting events. You're not supposed to do it even from the hotel that you're staying on. Next topic. They're making progress. First time forever. Tampa Bay Stadium across the bridge in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg City Council has now approved the zoning concept for this tract of land on the other side of the bridge to build a 1.3 billion stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays. They've solved the name change proposal, and they have financing that evidently the city council is going to agree on. 1.3 billion. Tampa will pay 700 million of it plus cost overruns. St. Petersburg and the county will pay 600 million. So this has been a long-standing crisis. You know, Tropicana Field, the Sun Dome looks like a Rector-set stadium. It's just crappy. Nobody goes to.
Yeah.
So it looks as if this thing is going to get finalized. And the fact that St. Petersburg City Council approved the whole zoning mechanism, which makes it an entertainment district, a business district, and it looks like the funding is now going to be agreed to. They can get this thing done. So that's a real positive. Here's a really cool Dodger story. I don't know if you've heard about this. Peter O'Malley, the son of the legendary owner, Walter. Peter, of course, ran the Dodgers in LA until he retired and eventually sold the franchise. Peter O'Malley has turned over all the archives from the Walter O'Malley era to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Cool.
On Saturday, they delivered 7 boxes of historical data that Walter O'Malley and the family had kept. It dates from 1934, when Walter O'Malley was hired as the Dodgers team lawyer in Brooklyn, through 1979 when he passed on. It incorporates all types of correspondence as it relates to the breaking of the color barrier, correspondence with Jackie Robinson, correspondence with the commissioner's office, the Leo DeRocher suspension for gambling, as well as all other business matters related to Dodger baseball during that era, including the decision to leave Brooklyn and Ebbets Field, what happened in Chavez Ravine when they took over that land encampment and built Dodger Stadium. They have Walter O'Malley's date book, every date book from 1934 to 1979, with all of his appointments and all of his notations.
Really?
I mean, it's a treasure trove. Can I leave right now and just go to Cooperstown? I want to be there and they open the box. I can't imagine.
Like a time capsule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from 1934 to 1979. Yeah. So the O'Malley family just donated this on Saturday. They delivered the boxers to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yankees, first place Yankees, all their big bats. First place without Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole just struck out 10 in 4 innings in his final rehab start. Probably in the rotation, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of this week. And the Yankees not only are bashing the ball, Some of their other pitchers who are coming off injuries, like Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortez, have had really good seasons. Now, the Yankees are a little bit wafer thin in the bullpen. There may have to be a player acquisition, but first place Yankees, and they get Garrett Cole back. Astros, we always talk about bad investments. Do you want ketchup or mustard? The Astros are eating the $30 million still owed on the contract of first baseman DH Jose Abreu.
Wow.
He had been such a success for so long with the White Sox, was so long, stayed there, was so loyal, and then finally left as a free agent when the White Sox said, we're going to rebuild, we're not bringing you back. Went to Houston. He was sent to the minor leagues hitting .083 about a month ago. And they sent him all the way down to Class A, couldn't hit. Got him back to AAA, hit a little, brought him back. He was hitting 167. They released him. And Houston's having a miserable season. They have so many injuries. They got, Jose Altuve and Kyle Tucker, and that's about all there. And Bregman's been hurt, and Bregman's not having a good season. So Angels pitching staff is a disaster. So you want ketchup or mustard? They're eating $30 million they owe Abreu for the next year and a half. So, John, you got a lot of topics on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the umpire? You want to talk about the O'Malley family, Tampa Bay baseball? Go ahead.
Well, just a couple of quick hits. Remember, the Padres were in the running for Jose Abreu. And I remember everyone was angry at A.J. Preller for not signing him. Maybe he dodged a bullet. It's like, what if Preller signs a guy, he gets criticized. If he avoids a guy, he gets criticized. But the Astros are a shell of what they used to be. The two topics that are interesting to me are the Tampa Bay situation first, because they have terrible attendance already.
Yeah.
And do they think they're going to get all these people showing up? Because they tax the citizens in Miami to build a stadium and no one shows up there.
Well, the big issue is where the location of the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium is in the old Suncoast Dome. And that was built right under a bridge. And there's hardly any parking. And by the way, the population in Tampa, St. Pete, that's older demographic.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue there, that those people don't want to travel in rush hour to get to a baseball game where they can't find a parking place. So they've had good teams, but people stay home and watch it on TV. They don't go see Rays baseball. The Miami situation, to me, it blows my mind, because that's been such a great baseball market, and it's such a phenomenal Hispanic market. And what's the number one sport in the South American countries and in Cuba? Baseball.
Yeah.
And even the Hispanics have not come out. Now, more recently, it's just because of all the fire sales. So, Miami, Tampa's attendance, the only reason they're not at the bottom is because the Oakland Athletics and their crappy owner have the Oakland Athletics at the bottom. It's a mystery to me in South Florida, with all the retirees who've come from the Northeast, all the baseball fans. But you got to have a good team, and you got to have a new stadium. Miami's got a new stadium, and still nobody's going, because now the owner, Bruce Sherman's, fire sailed everybody out the door.
I would love to see O'Malley's appointment book around the time when they were evicting all of the Latino families in Chavez Ravine, the eminent domain scandal. And I remember Mexican Latino fans were really angry at the Dodgers and didn't come around until 81 when Fernando Valenzuela showed up. But that's a stain in the history of LA. And I'm curious to see what O'Malley was doing during that process.
Well, I think he saw as a visionary West Coast market, biggest city on the West Coast. And at that point of land, there were people living in shacks in that plot of land on the hill that became Chavez Ravine. So you're going to evict homeless people and people living in dumps.
But it was their dump. They were living there. They were renting it, and they got literally removed by the sheriffs. It was a terrible thing. But I kind of think it was probably driven more by city politicians than necessarily the baseball executives. That's just my hunch.
And I'd also like to see those pages in 1955 into 57. O'Malley's communication with the borough of Brooklyn over the move. And their attempts to build a new stadium that never got built in Brooklyn. They're going to build it over the rail yards. And there was just a lot of bitterness there that we're not going to give O'Malley all this free land in Brooklyn. Well, then he said, I'm taking my franchise and I'm going to move. And they said, no, you're not. It's the Brooklyn Dodgers. The bums belong here. Then he moved. So that's a fascinating thing.
Were the Dodgers the first movers or the Giants? I know one followed the other.
I think the New York Giants got the approval to move. because they had a mess in the Polo Grounds and they had terrible attendance and no way to get anything built. The New York Giants actually looked at Minnesota. They're going to go to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Instead, they wound up going to the West Coast. It had not been announced that the New York Giants had been approved, but as soon as the Dodgers saw the Giants got the approval, they said, we want to go out there and we'll claim Los Angeles. And baseball wanted to have two teams out on the West Coast, so therefore it worked. But I do think it was the New York Giants who the first one got the approval, but the announcement came out simultaneously. I'll never forget the tabloid newspapers in New York. There was the New York Daily News and the New York Daily Mirror. On the front page, and I'm sure there's a picture you can find on the internet, I think it was the New York Mirror, had a front page of the Dodger mascot, the bum, with a suitcase and a pennant and a train ticket in his hand, about to board a train going to Los Angeles. That was the front page of the New York tabloids the day the Dodgers announced they were moving to Los Angeles.
Wow.
It was a phenomenal piece of journalism.
Okay, and you were living there in Long Island at the time.
I was a kid. I was really a kid at that point. I did not quite understand, but the Dodgers had already taken some games at Ebbets Field. A lot of people don't know this. Maybe there's some of us on our podcast viewership that were deportees from New York in that era. The Dodgers, the last year they were there in Brooklyn, they played some home games in Jersey City in a minor league ballpark.
Really?
They wanted to, quote, expand the market. So they played games in a AAA stadium in Jersey City. I used to watch it on TV. It was a minor league ballpark, but they wanted to market Brooklyn Dodger baseball to everybody in New Jersey. But that was just another indirect message that this isn't working for us anymore, and you have not helped us build this new Ebbets Field that we wanted to build. And then when the mayor and the city council people said, you can't take them, the Dodgers belong to the fans of Brooklyn. And Walter O'Malley said, the Dodgers belong to me. And they were gone. So we got to go to Hall of Fame in winter. January. We spend 11 hours going through Walter O'Malley's treasure trove of stuff he just gave. The president of the Hall of Fame is a friend of mine, Josh Rohrich, a longtime public relations director, actually worked for the Dodgers and the Padres. And he's the new president of the Hall. He must be going crazy because he's a baseball historian. I mean, how cool is that to have the O'Malley archives in Cooperstown?
Oh, yeah. And there's probably, a lot of Branch Rickey stuff in there, too.
Oh, yeah. All the correspondence from all those years. Okay, we get